Imagine you are the last person on earth who knows how to make fire. Not the last person alive, just the last one who remembers how. Everyone around you is alive, they eat, they sleep, they survive, but the knowledge is gone, and without it, in the world you live in, survival has an expiration date nobody can see coming. Now imagine that person is not one, it is 1,000. 1,000 humans left on the entire planet, and none of them know yet that they are almost the last. This is not a thought experiment. This happened to your ancestors twice. And the second time, nobody even saw it coming. 930,000 years ago, something begins to go wrong. Not suddenly, not with a single dramatic event, just slowly, quietly, like a fire that nobody notices is going out until the room is already cold. The climate is shifting. Forests that have fed entire groups of early humans for generations are thinning. The animals they hunt are moving. The water sources they built their lives around are drying. And the groups scattered across the continent are doing what groups always do when resources get tight. They start to shrink. First, the weakest bands disappear, then the isolated ones, then even the strong groups start losing members faster than they can replace them. Every generation thinks it is just a bad season, just a temporary difficulty, just something that will turn around. It doesn't turn around. A 2023 genetic analysis found something that stopped researchers cold. Hidden inside the genomes of modern humans was evidence of a collapse so devastating that the entire ancestral population may have shrunk to somewhere between 1,000 and a few thousand breeding individuals for 117,000 years. To understand how long that is, consider this. Everything you think of as human history, every civilization, every war, every invention, fits inside 12,000 years. The bottleneck lasted nearly 10 times longer than all of recorded history combined. For 117,000 years, your ancestors balanced on a wire so thin that a single bad generation, a single drought that lasted a few years too long, could have ended the entire story. And here is the thing nobody tells you. We have almost no idea how they survived it. The silence in the genetic record is so deep that scientists can see the bottleneck clearly and still cannot fully explain why anyone came out the other side. The best theories point to flexibility, movement, a willingness to abandon what was familiar and try something completely different when the familiar stopped working. Then, slowly, the climate shifts again. The forests return. The population begins to climb painfully, generation by generation. By 74,000 years ago, humans have spread. Africa holds growing populations. Small groups have begun moving beyond the continent. The worst, it seems, is over. It is not over. Beneath the island of Sumatra, something has been building pressure for thousands of years. On a morning 74,000 years ago, that pressure finds a way out. The eruption of the Toba supervolcano releases nearly 3,000 cubic kilometers of material in a single event. Ash spreads across the Indian Ocean and South Asia. In some regions it falls for weeks. Aerosols in the upper atmosphere begin blocking sunlight on a planetary scale. And then the world gets cold. Not winter cold, volcanic winter cold, the kind where growing seasons collapse, where animals begin to die, where the humans who depend on those animals find their food supply vanishing faster than any drought they have ever faced. Some researchers propose that human populations worldwide crashed to as few as 10,000 individuals. A second near extinction, delivered not by slow climate change but by a single catastrophic morning on an island most of those humans had never heard of. For years, this was the story. And then the archaeologists started digging. In northern India, in layers of ancient rock, they found something that should not exist if the catastrophe theory is correct. Stone tools. Deliberately shaped, clearly the work of intelligent hands. And those tools appeared not just below the ash layer from Toba. They appeared above it as well, before the eruption and after. The people who made those tools did not vanish when the sky went dark. They kept making tools. They kept surviving in the shadow of the worst volcanic event in 2.5 million years. So what actually happened? The genetic evidence is real. Modern humans carry less diversity than a species our size should have. Something reduced our numbers significantly. But the scientific community is still fighting about what exactly. One possibility is that Toba was catastrophic in some regions and survivable in others. Another is that Toba was almost irrelevant, and the real story is a slow grinding pressure already in motion long before the volcano ever erupted. Neither answer is fully satisfying, and that might be exactly the point, because here is what both moments share. In both cases, the people who survived did not survive because the world got easier. It got as hard as it has ever been. They survived because they responded differently than the ones who didn't make it. At the moments of greatest pressure, the groups that left evidence behind were trying new things, new tools, new food sources, new territories, new ways of organizing the people around them when the old ways stopped working. The ones who held on to what used to work, the ones who waited for the familiar to return, tend to be the ones who vanish from the record entirely. You are not descended from the strongest early humans. The strongest ones died in conditions that strength alone couldn't fix. You are not descended from the luckiest. Luck sustained across 117,000 years is mathematically impossible. You are descended from the most adaptable, the ones who changed when everything familiar was collapsing, the ones who found something unfamiliar and decided to try it anyway. That trait is still in you, encoded in the same genome that carries the scars of those two narrow moments when your entire family line nearly stopped. The next time something in your life stops working the way it used to, the next time the familiar path closes and you're standing there wondering if you have what it takes, remember this. You have done this before. The unbroken chain of people you come from, stretching back to the few thousand who refused to disappear, they did exactly this. Twice, and they made it through. So will you.